we're ready.
All right, I'm rolling.
You know the drill, so you sort of repeat. Did you go over it?
No, but I told them I'm not on air, so essentially I'll ask.
Oh, and just a minute, there'll be, if there's space, if you want to change something you said, say stop, stop, break, and we'll break a little bit so we can cut, then you
Tom,
can
you're
repeat.
getting in my shot.
So if ever you're not happy with an answer of yours and you want to do it 10 times over, we're here. Just give us a break.
Tom rolling?
Yes.
Speed, action.
So Sam, how did you first hear about the Art and Embassies program?
I first heard about the Art and Embassy program through the Woodward Foundation back in the late 60s. And in fact, work was purchased by Henry Gelsaler, who was attached to the Metropolitan Museum in New York. So that was good.
And you've been lending to the program since the beginning, and you've had 20 or 30 works in the program in the last 30 years. Is there anything you can tell us about working with the program, or?
Yes, I recall meeting artists who had actually seen my work, or actually seeing, such as in Korea, the embassy in Korea and all the work that was present there, and how that artists from that country were attached to it, or drawn. The work was special, certainly different from theirs.
Maybe we should back up and ask, and I should ask you the question. You've been to Korea and you've been to Warsaw. Korea with USIA and Warsaw with the Art and Embassies program. If you could tell us about your experience seeing your work in another country through the State Department and what that was like. Earlier you were telling me how that was such an incredible experience to be in Korea and in Warsaw and see your work. And how about the child who you said came to see your work every day in Poland?
Yes. Well, first of all, an embassy is a very elegant and warm setting. I mean, even for someone who's visiting from that country, so that actually, both in Korea and in Warsaw, where that I understood that a person came to see my work every day, it was very exciting. I remember in Yugoslavia that modern work by the students were kept under their table. So when the director left, they could pull it out and show it to you. An old worn copy of art form, so that it was like a meeting across waters, And of course is that these kind of experiences is seeing the end of your work, seeing almost the meaning. Not the meaning that you would give it while you made it, but the meaning that you saw it when someone like Longfellow, when you find a song in the heart of a friend. It's that kind of thing. I've even taught students here who saw an exhibit of mine in Seoul, and that it was almost the reason they said that they came to Baltimore.
Are you stopping, or what's happening here?
No, I'm just getting a the angle.
Okay.
Meg's got the sound.
Okay. You were telling me earlier about Chile and your experience there, and how your work, I guess if you could talk about your work being what it is, about abstraction and color, and how you had this experience in Chile where abstraction is frowned upon.
My experience in Chile was, first of all, is that I made a piece that was probably about 2,000 yards in length to hang at the convention. And it was applauded, but when I went to the school and I started to hang a work very, very high, I suddenly got a message that said you're hanging your work too high. And I said, who said so? He said, he said so. Well, I said, he hasn't even been down here, which meant that he had someone to tell him. So that I pointed out that if I can't hang my work high, then I guess I'll go back home. In a sense that you want to go someplace where you can work. But I really realized is that art wasn't art. That art was simply a means of manipulating. And that was very, very strange because there was a gallery of Mata paintings in Chile. And although he said he wasn't from Chile, but there were paintings there that he had made there. And they were so important, you know, at least to this country. But persons were reluctant to pay attention to them. A lot of countries, there's a plaster cast of classical work precede the feeling that may be in someone's heart, which is not good. But in come American art, and it seems to not break rules, but it breaks all the rules the way that they want to see it actually done. And it goes beyond that. I think that American artists are known for success. They may not have it right, but some of them certainly are, so that wherever you go is that there's this feeling is that someone is going to follow through on what they believe in and make a success of it. So that, such as I have a Chilean artist visiting me now, he works. I mean, he starts in the morning reading a book and he doesn't put down the book until 2 o'clock. And when I met him to bring him to my home, he had large boxes full of books and various things, literally to show the world what he was about. And we've had to chide him, no, not the first time, you know, like you don't show everything. But he's really beautiful in the sense is that he has created, he's built such an attitude upon the 2 American artists whom he saw 2 years ago, and his work has changed, you know, it's like turning it over. And he's worked in Cleveland, and he said he worked till 3 o'clock every morning. Gee, I wish a lot of American artists could work like that. But this is a kind of a celebration that he knows that he can't have at home. And of course you end up saying is that, why don't you come here? Because I think there's something really attached to the way he works, or how smart he is. When we were there, is that he whispered in my ear, I says, why do you do this that way? He says, you see, I've never been to art school.
In terms of having your artwork being seen in other countries, developing countries, in Europe, all over the world, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel very good. Today in America, if you're an abstract artist, an opposing group will say, you don't have meaning for people. But if you take the work, in a sense, to where some of it was actually born, you can get crowds. And this certainly happened for me in Germany with a group of high school students that worked with me for a week. And the fact is that when I had a chance to speak about the piece that I'd made, and I thanked them for helping me, someone said that's really great because normally children don't get appreciated here. So I think that the spirit of the work, what the work is about, what the work is meant for me, how it became established there, is something that's worth sharing. And then when it is shared, it really makes you feel good. It's not so much that you're lying, it just couldn't happen if you weren't where you were from. And it's something that is rather radiant, because the fact that you feel it and they see who you really are, they feel that they can do the same too.
Sam, if you could include somehow in a response that something directly saying that the Art and Embassies program, say something along the lines of the Art and Embassies program being a venue for you and for other artists to have their work seen in countries that wouldn't have the chance to see it, or by people in countries that wouldn't have the chance to see it otherwise. If you could say something along the lines, including the program, and then saying, so that it's supporting the program, and also saying that giving artists, like you're saying to other artists, you know, it's a great thing because this is a venue that Art and Embassies gives us, is having being able to show our work in countries that don't have the chance to see it otherwise.
Well, the Art and Embassy program is a great thing because it allows each of us, American artists, to observe how many of us actually contribute and how many of us form like a nucleus, you know, abroad, even when, although we aren't connected, you know, here. And that I've known through friends that in other countries that artists are really heroes. If you meet a waiter in Italy and you tell him you are an artist, you'll get an extra something without having to pay for it. And that I was even in Paris, I could ride around on the truck of the art movers just simply because I was an artist, and I seemed to have come across the French border from Spain with one of them. But it was really a good feeling, and I think that the Art and Embassy program helps to reinforce the status that this country has. And it does it in a way that everyone appreciates, and that's through art. That is the sense that they are through culture. It's very interesting to talk about my friend from Chile. He's not a rich kid, and he's obviously poor. His wife is not even, say, Chilean. She's probably Indian. And that you realize that how hard he has worked, at least in 2 years, to be someone. So that I think that when one opens these kinds of feelings and experiences, you're also opening experiences for yourself, because that's what the painting is. I mean, the painting is this sort of opening and prying, and it's a light. And when you see what the light literally does, I think it's a very interesting experience. You say to yourself, I'm going to make some more. No, nobody's going to stop me.
So I don't know if you knew that the work that the ambassador and I selected of yours for the exhibition in the Vatican the theme was spirituality and art. Does that surprise you that your work would be included in an exhibition entitled Spirituality and Art?
It certainly does. It does surprise me that my work would be included in a theme called Spirituality and Art. But I'm glad. Mostly I've been in shows about music and shows about color, but that's what color is about spirituality. And you know, if you can start at the top in any instance and sort of inform them, then you're doing a good thing. So again, I'm glad.
Does anyone have any other questions? I'm trying to think if we should be taping this or not. Is this something you think we you should say on tape, or how do you feel about it, Sam? I mean, is it,
If you were going to tell a story,
Watch out.
yeah, watch out.
if you were going to tell a story about, just in a casual conversation with friends over dinner, about an experience you had while you were overseas with this art, is there any one story that you tell that's a particularly good tale, a story or an experience that made you feel good about the fact that you had done the work and it was over there and that had an impact on someone? You ever have one of those moments when you say, I'm glad I did this, I'm glad I'm here to find out what the reaction was? Or am I reaching too far for it?
No, that's fine because see, I live in Washington, so almost every time that someone was asked to do something, I was giving a chance. And anytime I got to Europe, I could go to Spain or any place as a leadership and specialist program. And so let's see. Anytime we traveled and I had work at an embassy, you were invited. Or in Korea again, we were given a reception where that we could meet the Korean women artists who are also coming to America to, so that I think that one of the great things is that you found the ambassador acting in a way, as a host that introduced you to artists of another country through your work. And that was always fine to see the other artists who were selected. I think that in the embassy in Korea, Kenneth Nolan was there. It knocks you out. This guy makes $300,000 a work, and yet he's doing this sort of thing. So it must be meaningful. I remember the high point of all of this, I guess, was in Poland, when a young lady who told me that she had been working at the prisons, she and her husband, and that she saw what it was doing to her husband. She saw what it was doing to her husband in the presence of her child, so that she stopped, so that they could have a life. In other words, she stopped being a hostess in the gas chambers, and said she wanted to look to the future of their life rather than to the past. And I felt that at that point, this was 1971, that there was something significant even for me, because that literally is that if I continue to dwell on the past, is that the art, in a sense, was an invitation to the future, to build that future. And I met a lot of Polish artists who sort of felt that way, that it wasn't hiding, it was building, giving something from that point on. So it was those sort of experiences that were perhaps most meaningful. None of this would have happened, I guess, without the Art and Embassy and the program, because of the beautiful catalog, the way the work was displayed, the way that biographical material was written by the best of writers, things that you weren't getting, in New York, so it was interesting.